Hello and welcome. We're continuing on with our gratitude series, kind of like doing gratitude in a new way that works even if you're not feeling very grateful. Like if a lot of crap's going on in your life and it's feeling dark, like I know when I was experiencing trauma all the time, it was really impossible to be grateful. Even though I had great gifts and stuff, and I couldn't quite put them together. A lot of it to do with the trauma and the DID. It was really hard to be grateful. So that's what this is about, is kind of doing gratitude in a new way. And I want to illustrate that with a story. It was when I was a young little kid. I was very kind of mechanically inclined. I was always taking things apart, building stuff, right? And I was young, and I wanted to put a hole in this 2x4, right? And there's the drill there. And then there was the drill bit. And I was pretty sure I wasn't allowed to use the drill. I was like, yeah, I wasn't really allowed to use the drill, and definitely didn't feel comfortable asking my dad to drill the hole for me. That's a whole nother story. But I wanted to get the hole in the 2x4. And so what I did is I took the drill bit. I thought, I'm probably allowed to touch the drill bit, right? I took the drill bit with my hand and went back and forth, making the hole. If you have any idea how slow a process that is, especially when you're a young kid, I think it might took 3 hours or more, 3 or 4. It took forever, and the hole was all jagged. It wasn't like a clean hole or stuff. And I to this day, I don't even know what I was gonna build with that hole, but the 4 hours of like trying to make that hole, probably needed a second one, and I gave up. But still, 4 hours to put a hole, like as a little kid, man, tenacity, raw. I was a little bit tenacious, which helped in the development of vibration shift, if you've heard that story. But anyway, so it took forever to drill that hole. But then growing up, older and stuff like that, I got one of, those electric drills and stuff like that. And that's probably one of my favorite tools, is that electric drill. And I think it's partially related to that process of like just how much time it took to drill. I mean, because literally if I had that drill, or, my dad did the hole or something like that, that probably would have taken maybe 30 seconds, if that, 20 seconds. Like it would have been like that. It would have been like super, super quick. And a lot of times, and with that story, we don't know what we have until we've experienced not having it, right? And that's what we're going to do here is a little exercise on that lines of like you couldn't be grateful. I couldn't have the gratitude of like that cordless drill without going through that process necessarily of like trying to do the hole myself and how much struggle I went through. So that's what's going to help condition us with, some of the gratitude now is we're going to do a process of when you get up in the morning or when you're going to change your clothes, do it with one arm, assuming you have two arms. If you only have one arm, then imagine if you had to do it with no arms, and just do the process of like, wow, if I didn't have any arms, I'd have to find someone else to do it, and how hard it is. And that, wow, having one arm over no arms is empowering, versus the same if you have two arms, now do one arm. And you don't get to put your arm up like that and pull it in like this. No, this arm or this arm, completely loose, limp, and then go through the process of changing your clothes. You cannot use your arm in any way, shape, or form, but you can get dressed. You'll find that it is possible. Like for me with the drill, like it was possible to do that, put that hole through the board, but it also made things so much harder, right? It was so much more difficult, and that like the blessing of having a power drill, or the blessing of having two arms, which if you have two arms, you normally have taken for granted because it's just like you've always had them and it's just there, and it's not, you haven't experienced not having them. But just do that dressing routine where you don't have the arm, and find out all the different ways in which it's like, wow, that's harder than I expected. You think, oh yeah, it's no big deal. Oh, because at first I tried it, right? And the first thing I did is like, I was trying to, pull the shirt up from this, and I lifted my arm to go. I was like, oh, wait a second. You don't get to do that. There's no lifting the arm. You got to keep it flat. You can't use it. So, and just going through that process will give you that like experience of like, wow, life is a lot easier having two arms. Like way in which like you go about your life right now, it's a lot easier having two. And by experiencing, that process helps you get into the gratitude of like, okay, I'm gonna have gratitude that I have two arms. But if you don't do the exercise, it can easily turn into a beat 'em up, because like, oh, well, I should be grateful because I have 2 arms. As opposed to, it's not about that. It's not about shoulds and debt, because should doesn't do anything. Experiencing it, feeling it in your heart is what does something, right? And gratitude is not like, okay, I need to be gratitude for all the different gifts. No, no, no. You only really need to ever be grateful for a single gift. Because once you're grateful for a gift, no matter what it is, you're in a state of gratitude. You're feeling gratitude. You get all the benefits of being grateful. So this is just one, in one moment of like, just change the clothes with one arm and get that experience of like, wow, do you know what? That is surprisingly more easy to have 2 arms. It is a big deal. Not let alone all the other areas of like, we're blessed to have 2 arms, but just experiencing that. Because the key is to experience it versus to beat yourself up of like, yeah, you should be blessed you got 2 arms. Yeah, you should be blessed that you can see. You should be blessed that you can walk. You should be blessed that you can talk, right? No, shoulds. We're not shoulding. We're not putting that should all over us jacket. We're just going to try it out because it takes such a little amount of time to try to get dressed with 1 arm. It takes more time than with 2, but it takes a little time to really then anchor in that moment, that small moment of like, okay, I'm gonna feel a little gratitude that I got 2 arms, you know, because I directly experienced that. Wow, that is easier, and not go into like, oh, other people don't have it and I'm bad. Like, no, no, just for that one moment of like changing with 1 arm and then changing with 2 and being like, cool, I can be grateful for that. And that just sets the seed of a little bit, and you kind of see of like, you'll see how easy of like 2 arms. Wow, it's so much easier. Now imagine if you only had 1 arm, right? You wouldn't know how much easier it was with 2 arms. Like if you always had that, right? But now you directly experience it like, wow, a 2 arm makes it a lot easier in my life. It's not like it's impossible. It's not like it's not overcomable. Just realizing that you have that gift of 2 arms, and that, wow, that does afford you a lot easier life. Or in that action of getting your clothes on, just that part, it makes that a lot easier, which then you can take on more. Like obviously, okay, now I got 2 arms, now I got to take on more, and you know, and it's hard, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But if you just take a moment of like getting that gratitude of like, okay, having 2 arms does open my life up to more. And that's kind of like if you watch the day 1 of the gratitude, where I talk about the unconscious mind has these death programs for sake to keep you safe, right? But the death programs are similar to having like 1 arm, right? And you're kind of going through life with 1 arm, and then you just have different challenges because you have 1 arm, and there's certain things that are harder to do with only 1 arm. And it's the same thing with these death programs. Life is a lot harder to do with these death programs because there's just ways in which your unconscious says, we cannot go there. Unfortunately, most of your dreams, aspirations, and the good things you want in your life are kind of wrapped in these death programs. So your unconscious is like, you can't go there, because it's the same as like, you know, getting your goal and jumping off a cliff, which, okay, that's not fun. That's not a good technique, right? And your unconscious is like, yeah, it's not a good technique. We can't go there. But it also doesn't say, oh, by the way, your dream's inside there. It can't say that. It can't say, okay, got this death program. I don't want you to go. Your dream's inside of there. Because then we're going to be like, whoa, I want my dream. We're going to the death program, charge, punch through it, rah, right? The unconscious knows this. It's, you know, it's basically what feeds you all your info. So it knows. And it's like, guess what? I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to tell her. She just won't know. I'll just do all these weird stuff, make her feel funny, make her uncomfortable when she gets close. So you just do all this other weird kind of stuff, and you loop around your goals, but never actually quite get to them. That's a death program. So, like, you know, having the gratitude of like, wow, I got 2 arms. Imagine that gratitude if you actually started moving some of those death programs, and now you're not using all your energy just to kind of manage your environment or to get dressed. You're actually able to use that to kind of go on your mission, to find out what source put inside you, as opposed to, well, there's what source put inside you, but there's all these death programs, so you can't go. It's like, no, let's use our energy to not avoid death programs, get rid of the death programs, and go where source designed us to go. So if you want to know more about that, you can check out the link. It's Freedom Through Safety course. It's super badass. It uses your unconscious to heal your unconscious using this thing called a release workgate in that course. It's super powerful. I even have a video. I'll probably have a link in the thing if you want to know what's in the release workgate and how much it does, because it does a lot. You can check that out too. But hopefully I gave you a little bit just if you did the exercise, trust me, do the exercise, get dressed with one arm. And that's going to help you get gratitude for having two, if you have two. And if you have one, then have it where, you can do it where you tape your hand together and you can't use your fingers at all, and feel how much harder that is. And then realize, wow, I can be grateful that I actually got a hand to fingers. You can do it. You can step it to wherever you happen to be able to get that bit of gratitude for what we do have, right? Not beat ourselves up that, oh, well, you should be grateful. No, we're not shoulding. We're going to experience gratitude. So hopefully that helped. Until we talk again, have a blessed day or a blessed night.